This was my identity.
Nobody talks about how freaking hard it is to be a dentist. What most people talk about is how this affects the patient. What nobody talks about is how this affects us. Dentistry is ready for this. Now is really the time. Welcome back to Wellness and Dentistry. Today we're going to be talking about relationships. So, friendships, romantic relationships, how they can be impacted by dentistry, the importance of them. Is your spouse a dentist or not a dentist? There's two drastically different experiences there. So, who am I? I am Dr. Kyle Stanley. I'm one of your co-hosts. I'm a dentist, tech entrepreneur, speaker, and researcher, and I'm here with your other co-host and my very good friend, Dr. Martin Mendelson. Martin is a disabled dentist, coach, speaker, and author, and his first book, One Move Makes All the Difference, is available wherever books are sold. Together, Martin and I have helped thousands of dental professionals pursue wellness in dentistry. Martin, hello.
Hello, I'm excited for this topic as it comes out near Valentine's Day for those who choose to celebrate.
That's right. Yeah, in a few days,
Yeah,
it's Valentine's Day. As a reminder to everybody,
yeah,
if you're
exactly.
like, "Oh crap. Oh, yes, it's happening. Yes, it's
Yeah,
happening." You
yeah.
haven't gotten something or done something special for your loved one, make sure you're planning that. I don't want you to get in trouble on top of all the other stress that we already have in dentistry.
That's
So,
fun.
Martin,
Yeah.
relationships in dentistry. And I'm thinking kind of romantic relationships, marriages, boyfriends,
Yeah.
girlfriends, that kind of stuff. What do you have to say about this topic?
Well, so wait, so to clarify, do you want me to talk about dentistry or you want to talk to me about or me to talk about the other stuff?
Well, I want you to talk about relationships for dentists
Okay.
and maybe some of the struggles,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Well, as you always say, nobody understands a dentist like another dentist. And, when it comes to relationships, they require time and effort if you care about them. And so, I guess that's the first question you have to ask yourself. I mean, that sounds silly and crazy, but it's an important question. It's like, how valuable is this relationship to me? And if it is, then therefore, what effort am I going to put into this relationship? And so, from a collegial perspective, this is as important as our personal side relationships, right? Particularly if we're talking about referral relationships, because at Spear, I dealt for so many years with specialists in the referral relationship, and I could tell you without question, the ones that had the best relationships, speaking specifically about referrals, were the ones that put time into the relationship. And I mean, of course, yeah, I'm talking about study clubs and all that stuff, but really what I'm talking about is meeting on some type of cadence, whatever that was for them, to talk about how are things going? How is the process going? What can we do better? Should we do more of and less of? And so I guess at the end of the day, I don't care what kind of relationship you're talking about. If it's valuable to you, we got to put some effort into it, and what gets scheduled gets done, right? So that's what I think initially, at least.
Yeah, effort, putting time and effort into things is what I mean with anything, right? Not just
Yep.
relationships.
Yep.
This, I believe, is where a lot of dentists get in trouble.
Yeah.
I think most dentists, and I'm generalizing, but it was my experience too.
Mhm.
Most dentists have a better relationship, or they almost put the relationship with their profession above the relationship with their spouse, for example.
Yeah.
And no one would say that. If you
Mm.
went and asked them, like, what's more important, your profession or your spouse? No one would be like, oh, well, my profession for sure. Like he or she,
Yeah.
take a walk. But if you looked at their calendar, if you looked at their priorities, if you looked at what they spend time on, it
Yeah.
doesn't always line up. And
Yeah.
I am here saying this as a recovering
Yeah.
person that was obsessed with dentistry because this was me. I mean, I remember I got married, and that's so the year before I got married, we bought the practice, me and
Mhm.
my business partner, not me and my wife or my girlfriend at the time. So we bought the practice, and I was very busy then,
Yeah.
new practice, organizing stuff, all that. And then
Yeah.
that following year, which was when we got married, we also remodeled the practice, which was also
Oof.
wild.
Yeah.
And then a few years later, we had my son, and I was still so focused on growing my business and growing my profession that I look back on that and, I wasn't the best husband because
Hmm.
I wasn't there for her.
Yeah.
I mean, just I physically wasn't there for her a lot, but
Yeah.
also emotionally. When I got home, I was thinking about my patients. I was
Hmm.
thinking about writing extra notes or
Yeah.
reading articles. And I think that's one of the reasons why I went through burnout was because I had guilt about it. I knew that I should have been giving my wife and then when my son was born, him more time and effort, but I just couldn't pull myself away. It was like the dentistry was like a tractor beam or just like pulling me in like and
Yeah.
I couldn't say no to that.
So I think what you just said is really rather interesting. And if we take a step back, I know you're not saying, because I know you so well, that you shouldn't put the effort into a startup. While at this, right? I think that's fair.
Yes, yeah.
While at the same time, we have to look at the totality of our lives, right? So there is nothing wrong with spending a lot of time building a practice. And at the same time, we also have to honor and value our personal relationships so that we're having communication with our spouse or life partner to say, listen, I know I'm really busy these days. Let's plan a date night a week or a date night a month, whatever it is, so that we can spend time together because this is important to me, right? So, like you also said, like look at your calendar, look at your checkbook, I'll extrapolate. And how are you communicating that importance to the other people in your life as
I
well?
like what you said there, which is communicating that because I think that was one thing I wasn't doing.
Yeah.
Because you can be busy and be like,
Yeah.
listen, this is a period, the next
Hmm.
6 months are
Yeah,
going to be crazy. I'm going to be in the
totally.
practice all the time. But communicate that and say, after 6 months, my hope
Yep.
is that this dies down a little bit. But you
Yep.
are so important to me. You
Hmm.
mean the world to me. I love you. Like I wasn't really communicating that. So I think it's easy for spouses of dentists, especially if they're not dentists,
Hmm.
to be like, oh, well, he or she loves his profession more than he loves me
Hmm.
because that's what it's showing.
Right.
So you can have these hard periods, but they cannot go in perpetuity. They have to
Yeah.
have stopping points
Yeah.
or reevaluations. So
Yep.
that because I see this happen all the time, is this grinding forever. We go to we have to do well in high school to get into college. We are the
Hmm.
only people that actually go to the library in college to get into dental school. We have to do well in dental school. We have to come on the
Yeah.
weekends. We drop our wax up and have to redo it last minute. We do night clinic. We do morning clinic to graduate. And we're like, okay, I just have to grind through dental school. And then you get out and you're like, oh my gosh, I actually have to pay
Hmm.
the bills now. And I have
Hmm.
this big loan that I have to pay. So then you're grinding as an associate. You're grinding as an associate. And you're like, as
Hmm.
soon as I get a practice, I'm not going to have to grind. And then
Yeah.
you buy a practice, or maybe you don't, you're a career associate. But let's say you buy a practice and you go like, oh crap, now I'm really the one that
Yeah.
has to grind now. I'm the one
Yeah.
that's in charge of everything.
Yeah.
And sometimes you look up and you've been grinding for 20 years and you
Hmm.
go, oh shit, no wonder
Hmm.
I'm so burnt out. And so it's like these reevaluations of where you are in your life. It's that self-awareness piece that you and I talk
Oh,
about a
yeah.
lot.
And truthfully, you and I both know quite a number of speakers, specifically dental speakers, and I'm sitting here thinking now, I've had conversations with so many speaking colleagues where they have this problem where, they're gone all the time and then their spouse is like, hello.
Hello.
And so isn't it interesting, by the way, and I'm going to take responsibility for this, that we somehow pivoted from professional relationships and we pivoted to the personal. Isn't that interesting?
Yes.
It just kind
Yeah.
of happened,
Right.
right?
Well,
And
it's funny that you say that about speaking because
yeah.
I was that speaker.
Hmm.
I started and I had some early success because of my
Yeah.
mentors. And so I got invited. At the time, I was with Noble Biocare and they were taking me all over the world. And I was
Hmm.
speaking all the time. I mean, I was speaking 40 times a year.
Yep.
And finally, my wife came to me and said, hello, you can't be gone all the time.
Yeah.
We
Exactly.
need you here. Like, we want to be with you. And at the time, I was like, oh my gosh, she's so selfish. Like, she doesn't get it. I'm growing my career right now. I'm doing this for you. And I look back and say, like, God, what an idiot I was,
Mm, yeah.
because I just didn't see it. And I'm so thankful that she did communicate that to me.
Yeah.
Because I think what could have happened is she just eventually goes, bye, you're never here
Yeah.
again. Like, I
Yeah.
need a husband that's here.
Yeah.
And so she communicated that to me, and it was hard to hear at the time, but I'm so glad that she did because I had to reassess, just like we are talking about, and say, okay,
Mhm.
what do I do now? Maybe I raise my fees, or maybe I, don't do as many, and I cut it back. And I got to a point where now I communicate to her when I get booked for something.
Yeah.
Like I just got an email this morning that someone wants me to speak in a month or so, and I already have one lecture that month. Usually I do two a month. That's
Hmm.
like our deal. Like I can travel twice a month,
Yeah.
and so I'm gonna go ask her and see see what she thinks. And if she says no, then I'm gonna
Yeah.
tell them no.
Yeah. Exactly. I
But
love that.
it's that self-awareness piece for sure.
Yeah, totally. And so this goes back to even what I was saying about the professional relationships, which is needing to plan that time. Because if we don't plan the time, it ain't going to happen, right? So if you're talking about team building, if you're talking about interdisciplinary relationships, if you're just talking about collegial relationships, restorative dentist to restorative dentist, if we don't put time and effort into it, then it's never going to happen. And if you say to me, well, I'm too busy for that, then my answer is going to be, okay, respect that. And if we're sitting here talking about it, there's a reason. And so then, therefore, I was just doing this with one of my clients yesterday. Let's make a list without judging the list of what it is that's taking our time.
Hmm.
Then we can take a look at the things that are taking our time. We can then rank them in order of importance and whatever scale feels right to you. And then you look at it and you
Yeah.
see what it tells you. And then you make decisions. I think so many times I can tell you all that are listening, I've worked with so many dentists over the years and so many just professionals, executives, etc. And high performing individuals, me included, get stuck in this idea that, I've got to do things better, I got to cut back, etc. And so you kind of like jump to the answer before you look at the data, particularly when it's like an emotional, personal, connected topic like time. So it's like, okay, well, if I want to make a change, let me applaud myself for that interest. And let me just look at everything without judgment before I make any decisions. And in that exercise, things will come to me to figure out what I need to do. I know that that will happen for everybody who goes to the effort to do that.
Yeah, and I want to be specific that I'm not saying you can't be busy, you can't
Yeah.
hunker down and work on your business or on your profession. I think what's important for me and what I didn't do early in my dental career was be present where I was.
Yeah.
So I had this thing where I was at work and I felt like I should be at home.
Yeah.
And when I was at home, I felt like I should be at work.
Yeah.
And so I was never really 100% there. And that is a problem. I
Yeah.
think, like what we talked about, if you communicate to your spouse, hey, we just started this business. This next year is going to be crazy.
Mhm.
I'm probably going to have a bunch of late nights. I'm going to have to go
Yep.
in early. But my goal is that by August, things should kind of
Yeah.
change down, and let's set an appointment actually to talk about this and reevaluate if it's not and what we can do. But then the other thing is, and my dad was very good at this, is
Mhm.
being present where you are.
Yeah.
So when he came home, he didn't do anything with work. Now, maybe that
Mhm.
was the time because we didn't have smartphones and computers and that. But
Mhm.
I never remember him talking about work, doing
Yeah.
anything with work when he came home, writing notes. I mean,
Mhm.
maybe he was thinking about it, but I didn't know about it. He
Yeah.
seemed very much like he was there with us. When he locked the door, that was it. And I love how you say, I learned this from you, is you're never going to be fully done when you lock the door.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like we need to be present where we are. If you're at your office, be at your office and don't be thinking about your family. And I know that may sound selfish,
Yeah.
but it allows you to then feel better about when you're at home. You can say,
Hmm.
listen, I put all my time into my work today. When I'm at home, I'm going to be at home now. I'm a mom now. I'm a dad now. I'm a husband. I'm,
Yeah.
a wife. I'm whatever. That is who I am right now. And it sounds like kind of fluffy and woo-woo, but this is real stuff.
So I have a couple questions because I can't help myself for to throw out to people. So let's go back to having the conversation that you were illustrating with a spouse about, okay, I'm going to be grinding for six
Mm,
months.
hmm.
Two really important questions. How do you feel about that? And what are your expectations for our relationship time?
Yeah.
And if they're not aligned, well, then we need to figure out how to get them aligned. But here's the trick, folks. If you don't ask the question, you'll
Yeah.
never be able to figure it out. And so, not only is that important personally, you can extrapolate that professionally as well. You're a
Yep.
restorative dentist, you're doing great interdisciplinary care with a specialist, and you say, listen, I know we do a lot of cases together. I'm looking to connect with you on a whatever regular basis we figure out to make sure that we're doing the best we can for the people in our community. How do you feel about that? What are your expectations around this? It's the same question, and it's all about supporting relationships. So I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah, I completely agree. Let's talk about if your spouse is a dentist and if your spouse is not a dentist, because I
Yeah.
think there's positives and negatives to both of them.
Yeah.
Both Martin and I have spouses that are not dentists.
Yep.
However, I would say of like all of my friends from dental school, I'm like the only one whose spouse isn't a dentist. They all married someone from our class or the class
Yeah.
below or above. Like it's, some of them have pharmacy wives or husbands, but a lot of them are dentists. Now, let's
Mhm.
first talk about the positives of
Yeah.
having a spouse that's a dentist. And I believe that is that you can actually feel understood.
Oh yeah. 100%.
Your spouse knows what it's like to have problem patients, to have team members that are late or not
Yeah.
pulling their weight, to try to think about doing the clinical side and running the business and taking your CEs and putting, food on the table and roof over your head and all of that pressure they definitely get.
Yep.
The negative side, I believe, of having a spouse that is a dentist is that you never stop talking about dentistry.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very easy at dinner time to be then bringing everything home with you.
Hmm.
And I've had friends that have told me this, that have spouses that are dentists, that said that they really have to set boundaries with each other to
Yeah.
say, hey, when we go on a date tonight,
Hmm.
let's try not talking about dentistry, which
Yeah.
which is like good and bad, right? Because if you guys are both struggling with dentistry and the challenges of it, you want to be able to talk about it and bring that forward, but you just want to make sure that your romantic relationship isn't mixed with your professional relationship.
I agree. And we were kind of talking about this talking point before we hit record. You know whom we forgot? The other sides of this, which is dentists who have office manager spouses, dentists that have hygienist spouses, right?
Mm,
Particularly
hmm.
if they're in the same practice. I would even argue with you that dentist office manager spouse combos, particularly if that's the office manager in your practice, that's even worse because there's almost more to talk about, if you will, because you're both running this business that we call a practice. But so anyway, but to your point, I know, ironically enough, because you're making me think, I know more dentist office manager or dentist hygienist
Mm,
spouses than I actually do dentist spouses.
interesting.
And I can tell you, there's one in particular I'm thinking of in Phoenix that I just met recently, where she's the office manager, he's the specialist, and
Hmm.
they do not talk about work at home. But they also have segregated, scheduled, repeating meetings during office hours, which you should be having with your office manager anyway.
Mm,
So their agreement of boundaries is supported by taking the time that's needed in the practice, which, by the way, if you weren't connected as a spouse, you would have to take anyway, right? So it's not easy, but it can be done. I think the commiseration part is important. And I also think, and this is going to be different for every couple, that there's got to be not only, well, I would assert that there needs to be boundaries, number one, but there also needs to be an opportunity for a pressure release valve
Yeah.
where you come home and you're like, honey, I need to talk about this for like 30, 60 minutes. It was just,
Hmm.
and at least feel like you have somewhere to go without making it the focus.
Yeah.
Because I've seen that and observed that as well. But I don't know, have you?
Yeah, I have for
Yeah.
sure.
Okay.
Let's talk about our experience of having a spouse that is not a dentist.
Yeah.
So let's first talk about the good part about it.
Yeah.
The good part about it is, like, Brianna, my wife, she doesn't really care to hear about dentistry, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't interest her. So I end up leaving dentistry out because I know she kind of doesn't care.
Yeah.
Now, the bad part is that when I do need to feel understood or I had a hard day and she may not get what it's like to work on that upper second molar with the cheek that pulls onto
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
tooth, and the patient's tongue
Yeah.
goes up there and they can't sit back and they can't open, and your office manager is telling you the next patient is here and your hygienist is saying that there's an exam, and she just doesn't know what that was
Yeah.
like. And so for anyone that's watched my webinars, that's heard my story about this, I came home and told my wife I can't do dentistry anymore, and she basically said, well, what are you going to do? Every job is hard.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
didn't really have the sympathy that someone who really understood what I was going through would have.
Yeah.
Now, she knows that I tell this story. I'm not talking behind her back because she wants other spouses that don't really know what's going on to have more sympathy.
Yeah.
So there is that negative part of it. Now, for me, I think it works out well because I needed someone to be like, I don't really want to hear about dentistry when you get home, you know?
Yeah.
She would let me vent, but it's not like she's a dentist and we would sit around and talk about this DO filling that I did and how great my
Mhm.
implant was or the new X-ray machine. What has been your experience?
It's very similar. I think it's been good in that there could be I'll call it sympathy but not empathy because you don't understand, right?
Yeah.
Um, but I think it's also built, particularly in my most recent career, really deep friendships with other people in my current field that I can reach out to and commiserate with. So for me, it's kind of built close friendships outside my marriage to be able to support me while at the same time, Michael has very deep empathy and, really cares about what it is I go through. And I can still vent. But if it's like something really specific, I have gone out of my way to cultivate those other relationships.
Right. You call me or you call someone else. Yeah.
Well, not
Hmm.
yes, and also many of you have come to Lightside Live or have heard me speak of know that I have a core group of about half a dozen friends where we schedule regular Zoom meetings. I have one right after this recording with my friend David, who I always talk about when I talk about my team framework. So, um, but again, there goes back to one of our first points, right? Investing the time, planning the time. So I think the con is that you're not going to get that direct collegial understanding support at home. But the positive is then you have an outlet for somebody who isn't a dentist to be more to be that other side of you, which is a human.
Yes.
Which I don't know, for me, having had my profession ripped out from under me, I've come to realize is actually more important. Because
Mm-hmm.
if we can learn to accept ourselves as a human being first, then it's a lot easier to accept ourselves as a quote dentist, chiropractor, whatever
Hmm.
second. You know,
Yeah.
that's my very jaded life experience opinion, but take it or leave it.
Yeah, no, it makes sense for sure. I like how you said that where if you don't have that collegial relationship that you can have with your spouse, you do definitely need it from someone.
Yeah.
So for you, it's dentist friends. Like for me, my brother's a dentist, my dad's a dentist.
Yeah.
And our relationships, I mean, I was always close to my brother, I was always close to my dad, but once we shared a profession, I knew
Hmm.
what they were going through, they knew what I was going through. We had a totally different relationship.
Yeah.
It's been really awesome, actually. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, I was
Yeah.
always close with both of them, but as soon as I went to dental school, I called them more and asked them questions and advice. And
Hmm.
at at holidays, sometimes we talk about this because we all, it's people that understand us.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so that's been really nice. Now, if you don't have that, ways to get that are, of course, through study clubs,
Hmm.
through
Yeah.
support groups.
Yeah.
If you come and take our course in April, Lightside Live, and the link will be in the show notes. Come and take that. And one of the biggest takeaways that people say is, gosh, it's so nice to just hear that I'm not alone.
Yeah. Totally.
Because a lot of people don't have close colleagues around. Let's say
Yeah.
you went to dental school in LA like I did, but then you moved to Ohio
Hmm.
and none of your close friends are there and you're kind of scared of your
Hmm.
specialists and you think the other GPs are your competition. You don't really have people that you can meet up with regularly.
Hmm.
Having, especially in person, dentists
Hmm.
that you can meet up with regularly can be
Yeah.
extremely valuable for
And
just feeling heard, for feeling understood, and not feeling
hmm.
like you're out on this island. Because the negative part is when we have people that are at a low point and they feel like they're the only one, this
Hmm.
is when we see suicide happen in our profession.
Yeah. The other thing I'll say is give yourself a little patience and a little bit of grace. And what I mean by that is you may go to a study club meeting and just not click with those folk, and that's okay. There's other study clubs out there. You may go to a dental association meeting and same thing, right? But then therefore you might go to Lightside Live or you might go to Spear or you might go to, the AACD and all of a sudden you've found your people, right?
Hmm.
So you got to remember that. This is something that's really near and dear to my heart because honestly, uh, in my sobriety journey, I just didn't fit in for me with the AA chapter that I chose to go to. And so I sought out other ways of support and mentors and resources to help my sobriety journey. But I just went and I was like, what am I doing here? I'll share a quick story. For a brief period of time, you and I shared driving a Porsche. And so I went to this meeting and it was actually an LGBT focused AA group. And it was like kind of toward downtown Phoenix. And so I pulled in and the Porsche I had, by the way, at the time is that really pretty blue. It's
Mm.
like that royal blue. It really sticks out.
Yeah, it's probably Mexico blue. I know all the names of the
It was like
Porsches.
I think it was like I remember sapphire or something. But anyway,
Oh yeah, I think that is a color.
yeah. So I pull in and I start talking to these guys, and I guess most they were inside at the time, and then they came outside, and this one guy literally looks over at my car, didn't know it was mine, and goes, "Whose car is that? They don't belong here."
Mm.
Can you imagine? Like, holy smokes. So it's an unrelated yet connected story. And it just
Yeah.
simply says if you're in a group and you don't feel like these are your people, that's okay. There's lots of other people out there. You will find your people. I mean, think about it. Even on social media, on some of these groups like, Nachos or Better, Richer, Stronger, all those groups, there's folks that you can find that you can connect to. You throw them a DM, start chatting, and see what happens. Or like mommy dentists, or women in
Hmm.
DSO, or take your pick, right? So just
Yeah.
that's a long-winded story and explanation to just simply say, have patience and grace, and if you've tried it once, give it another try because the people you can connect to with are out there, but sometimes you got to look for them harder. That's all.
Let's summarize what we talked about today.
Yeah.
We talked about how you need to set time for your
Yeah.
relationships, how you have to have good communication with the
Hmm.
important people in your life to set expectations.
Hmm.
And it's funny, it's like it's all coming back to my light side triad, which is
Hmm.
boundaries, expectations, and
Yep.
communication. I mean, it kind
Yep.
of, it all, everything in life comes down to that.
Yep.
Boundaries, expectations, and communications. There are nuances if your spouse is a dentist, is a front office manager, is a hygienist, is a dental assistant. I mean, there's all these little nuances. So take that into account. And I think I would just say put effort into your relationships. I want to
Mhm.
read some things from one of the longest studies of human development. It's
One of
called
my favorites.
the Grant Study or the Harvard Adult Development Study. And it says good relationships. And by the way, real quick, this is like a over 70-year study. They've studied multiple generations of people. They've taken into account blood pressure and diet and smoking and relationships and divorce.
Everything.
And I mean,
Everything.
everything you can think of. It's the longest human development study ever. It says good relationships keep us happier and healthier. Relationships are stress regulators.
Hmm.
So your body is supposed to return when a threat is removed.
Hmm. Hmm.
And if you're in this chronic fight or flight mode, you have these circulating hormones and inflammation.
Yeah,
Relationships protect us from chronic stress. And the
absolutely.
opposite is true, that lack of relationships or bad relationships increase chronic stress.
Totally.
So if you laugh more, you're healthier. It's similar to how meditation works.
Hmm.
People who are more connected to family, friends, and community are happier, physically healthier, and live longer. The quality and depth of the relationships are more important than the quantity of the relationships,
Yep.
which is very important in today's society with social media. Like
Yeah.
I have 100,000 followers. So, I have all those friends. Like, how many of them can you call up and say,
Yeah.
I'm scared, I'm lonely, I'm
Yeah.
feeling uncomfortable. What can you do? And they talk about social fitness. And it's like what we talked about today, which is you don't go to the gym once and say, I'm in shape for the rest of my life. And you don't take your spouse out to dinner and say, we have the best marriage for the next 20 years,
Hmm.
right? It's work, it's
Yep.
putting the effort in multiple times a week, talking, being open, spending time. And lastly, what they say is replace screen time with people time, liven up a stale relationship, do long walks on the beach, date
Hmm.
nights, reach out to a family member that maybe you've had a feud with because
Hmm.
these feuds can fester inside of you.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to interject a quick suggestion because you just made me think about no screen time. So I have a really good friend named Brent who's C-suite level at Chase, and he's been there for a very long time. When you go to dinner with Brent, particularly if it's well, actually supposedly social or business, he has this thing where everybody puts their cell phone in the middle of the table, and the first
Oh, the
person to
first
pick
one
it up has to pay
gets
the
the
bill.
bill. Yeah.
And I gotta tell you, it's one of the first time I ever experienced this with him, because most of the time we were on vacation and nobody had their phones on anyway. But
Hmm.
one of the first times I experienced this with him, the dinner is so memorable to me
Hmm.
because we were just there and there was like 8 or 10 of us at this table at a
Yeah.
steakhouse on the occasion of a friend's wedding. But no screen time, really connecting, person to person is so important. So,
Yeah. Well, listen, guys, if you want to hang out with me and Martin in person and go deeper into all of this, join us at Lightside Live on April, is it 9th and 10th or 10th and 11th? I can't remember. But
uh,
anyways, it's one of those dates. You can go to our show notes, click on the link, and it'll bring you to all of our links. And you'll be able to find Lightside Live. It's happening in Dallas this year, and it's being sponsored by MB2. So it is available to MB2 doctors or anybody that's part of the Carabelli Club. So if you're not an MB2 doctor, click on the link for Carabelli Club. It's an awesome buying group that my practice is in, and we are saving over $20,000 this year just across all of the different discounts. So click on those links, check them out. We'd love to see you at Lightside Live, and we'll see you on the next episode of Wellness and Dentistry.
bye bye.